In this particular lesson, we look at how to add a symbol input field, the text box. And what is the input field? The input field is used to capture the user data or the user information. There are different types of the input fields which are used for capturing the different types of data. Some of the examples of the input fields include the text box, the radio buttons, checkboxes, and so on and so on. And in this particular lesson, we will learn how to manage the state and how to manage the user data using the useState hook. So we are going to see how we can create a symbol text box which can allow the user to enter some information, and once we get that information, we can be able to store it in some variable, and we are going to store the variable, that information, and track that information using the useState hook. With that said, let us get to our practical and see how we can create a symbol text box. So to be able to add a symbol text box, first we need to create a variable which will hold that information which is entered by the user. So I'm going to create a constant variable, and this variable is not a common variable, a usual variable, but rather it is going to be a useState variable. So for that case, I'm going to use the square brackets, and then within the square brackets I'm going to give the variable name. So the variable name can be any name you desire. So I'm going to call it first name because I want the user to enter the first name in that text box. And then I'm also going to provide the associated method which will update this variable value once the input text box changes the value. So I'm going to provide a method called set first name, and assign it to a useState. And by default, this variable will have an empty string. After declaring a variable and the associated method, now you can come within here, within your JSX code, and create a symbol text box. To create a text box, we use the input tag of HTML. Within the start tag of the input, I'm going to specify some attributes. The first attribute I want to specify is the type attribute. The type attribute specifies which specific input field you want to add. Is it you want to add the text box, or do you want to add the radio button, or you want to add the checkbox, or you want to add any other input field? For our case, we want to add the text box, and so I can type text. Next, I want to add the placeholder. The placeholder is a value which will appear in that input field when it is displayed. So I'm going to add the example as, and say, e.g. John. Next, I'm going to add the name attribute, and the name attribute is what is used at the backend once this information is submitted to the backend. So the name must be unique for each input field. So I'm going to say the name first name, fname. The next attribute I want to specify is the value attribute, and the value attribute should be assigned to the variable name which we have declared first above here. So the variable name is first name. Next, I want to add the onChange event. onChange event. And on the onChange event, I want to update this variable so that once the change happens on that in text box, for example, the user has entered a new value or the user has modified the existing value, then I want to update this variable. I want to update the value in this variable. And to be able to update it, I need to use this method called setFirstName. And this setFirstName will use the useState to be able to track those changes. So within the onChange, I want to grab the event, onChange event, and then I want to set the first name to the event dot the target element dot value. So once the change happens on that particular text box, I want to get that change event and get that text box and get the value on that text box and then set it to the first name, so that every time the value is changed on this text box, the first name is also updated and it is tracked. So with that, you can now save your changes, and then you can be able to turn. Here we need to use the ankle braces. Now let's save again. Now you can head over to your browser and you can see now we have a symbol text box with the placeholder value as John, and once you put your cursor here, you can be able to type your own name, and once you start typing, the placeholder value will disappear so that your actual value will be entered. So now I can type and say Sam or Kodak Kaif and search. So that's it all about this particular lesson, and it focuses on adding a symbol text box. You can even copy this and add the second text box. In our next video, we will be able to add even more text boxes and add the styles to make these text boxes appear better than this, and we shall be able to look at the next type of the input field, which is the form. Otherwise, thank you for watching the lesson and see you in our next video.